The crystal spires of Ethermore gleamed under three suns. The capital city of the Galactic Coalition floated high above the clouds, held aloft by ancient magic that predated most civilizations. Today, the beauty of the floating city felt hollow. Something was very wrong. Lysera Moonwhisper stood at the entrance of the Celestial Council chamber. Her silver hair cascaded down her back like a waterfall of moonlight. Violet eyes scanned the massive doors before her. She had lived for over 3,000 years. She had seen empires rise and fall. She had tracked criminals across 100 worlds and solved mysteries that baffled the greatest minds in the galaxy. But never had she been summoned with such urgency. Beside her, Emberclaw shifted his massive form. The Crimson Dragon was larger than most buildings. His scales shimmered with protective runes that Lysera had carved herself over centuries of their bond. Smoke curled from his nostrils as he lowered his great head near her. "You feel it too," Lysera said quietly. It was not a question. The dragon rumbled deep in his chest. Through their bond, Lysera sensed his unease. Emberclaw was ancient, even by dragon standards. He had lived through the War of the Shattered Moons and the Plague of Shadows. Little frightened him anymore. Yet today something made the old dragon nervous. The doors opened without sound. Inside, the council chamber stretched impossibly wide. 7 thrones floated in a circle, each one representing one of the great civilizations that ruled the Galactic Coalition. Representatives from the Etherean Elves, the Kravik Empire, the Stellar Combine, the Voidwalkers, the Crystal Mines, the Flame Courts, and the Deep Kingdom all waited. Lysera walked forward with Emberclaw behind her. Their footsteps echoed despite the vast space. Every eye turned to watch them. The usual proud bearing of the council members seemed diminished. Some looked away. Others fidgeted with nervousness that seemed out of place for beings who commanded star systems. High Chancellor Vexus of the Etherean Elves spoke first. His ancient face was lined with worry. "Lysera Moonwhisper, we thank you for coming so swiftly." "You said it was urgent," Lysera replied. She kept her voice neutral and professional. The message said an entire invasion fleet had vanished. "Not just any fleet," Councillor Zarn of the Kravik Empire added. His forearms gestured dramatically. "The 47th Invasion Fleet, 12,000 ships. The largest armada we have sent to any single world in 50 years. Lysera felt a cold weight settle in her stomach. 12,000 ships did not simply vanish. Each vessel carried hundreds of trained soldiers. The fleet had enough firepower to crack a planet's crust. Which world were they sent to conquer? The council members exchanged glances. No one seemed eager to answer. Finally, High Chancellor Vexus touched a control on his throne. A holographic image appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a blue and green planet, beautiful and vibrant with life. White clouds swirled across its surface. 2 moons orbited nearby. "This world," Vexus said slowly, "is designated Terra 3 in our charts. The inhabitants call it Earth." Lysera studied the image. The planet looked peaceful. Oceans covered most of its surface. Large landmasses showed diverse terrain from frozen poles to lush forests to vast deserts. "What do we know about this world?" Councillor Thera of the Crystal Mines spoke. Her voice chimed like glass bells. "According to our surveys conducted 50 years ago, Earth is home to a species called humans. They are bipedal mammals. Average lifespan of 80 to 100 years. They possess basic technology, chemical rockets, primitive computers, nuclear weapons, but nothing compared to our capabilities. They were classified as a Level 2 civilization," added Jarn, "barely able to leave their own planet. No faster than light travel, no energy shields, no plasma weapons. The invasion should have been completed in 3 standard days." Lysera walked closer to the hologram. She examined every detail. "When did contact cease?" 47 hours after the fleet entered Earth's star system," Vexus answered. "They sent regular reports during their approach. Everything was proceeding normally. The human military attempted to resist with their primitive aircraft and missiles. Our shields held easily. The landing forces prepared to deploy. And then, Lysera prompted. "Silence," Vexus said simply. "Complete and total silence. No distress calls. No combat reports. No request for reinforcement. Every ship in the fleet simply stopped transmitting at the same moment." Emberclaw moved forward until his massive head was level with the hologram. The dragon stared at the image of Earth with intense focus. Through their bond, Lysera felt his confusion mixed with something else. Recognition, perhaps, or old memory stirring. "You want me to investigate," Lysera stated. "You are our finest tracker. Counselor Mora of the Flame Court said. Fire danced around her form as she spoke. In 3,000 years, you have never failed to solve a mystery. What theories do you have? Lysera asked. She always liked to know what others thought before beginning an investigation. It helped her see which directions had already been explored. The council members looked at each other again. That same nervous energy passed between them. We considered many possibilities, Jarn said carefully. Perhaps a natural phenomenon, a stellar anomaly that disrupted communications. But our long-range scans show the system is stable. Perhaps the humans had hidden defenses, Thera suggested. Technology we did not detect in our initial survey. But Earth showed no signs of advanced weapons or shield generators. Perhaps internal sabotage, Mora added. But all 12,000 ships simultaneously? Unlikely. Lysera studied each council member in turn. They were hiding something. She could see it in their body language. The way Vexus would not meet her eyes. The way Jarn's smaller arms twitched nervously. The way Thera's crystalline form dimmed slightly when speaking about Earth. What are you not telling me? Lysera asked directly. Silence filled the chamber. Finally, High Chancellor Vexus sighed. It was a sound filled with weight and age. There are old stories, he said quietly. Legends from before the founding of the Coalition. Tales of a guardian civilization that protected younger species and punished those who preyed upon the weak. Fairy tales, Jarn scoffed, though his voice lacked conviction. Perhaps, Vexus continued, but these stories all describe the Guardians in similar ways. Bipedal, adaptable, seemingly weak individually but terrifyingly effective collectively. And according to the oldest records, they vanished 50,000 years ago, simply withdrew from galactic affairs without explanation. Lysera felt Emberclaw tense beside her. The dragon's ancient memory stirred with recognition at these words. You think Earth might be connected to these Guardians? Lysera asked. We think it is unlikely, Vexus said quickly. Too quickly. But we would be foolish to ignore any possibility.
That is why we need you, Lysera.
Go to Earth, find our fleet, discover what happened. Report back everything you learn. Lysera nodded slowly. She looked at the holographic image of Earth one more time. Something about it called to her. A mystery wrapped in a puzzle hidden behind a riddle. This was exactly the kind of challenge she lived for. I will need access to all survey data on Earth, Lysera said. Every report, every scan, every piece of information you have gathered. Granted, Vexus agreed immediately. I will also need full authority to act as I see fit once I arrive, Lysera continued. If the situation requires immediate decisions, I cannot wait for council approval. The council members exchanged glances. Jarn looked ready to object, but Vexus raised a hand. Agreed. You will have full diplomatic authority. Lysera bowed formally. Then I accept this mission. Emberclaw and I will depart within the hour. As she turned to leave, Emberclaw spoke. His voice was deep and resonant, like stones grinding together deep beneath mountains. I remember the old songs, the dragon said. Songs from when I was young. They spoke of beings who moved between stars as easily as breathing. Beings who could be in many places at once. Beings who valued mercy above conquest. The council chamber went very still. If those beings still exist, Emberclaw continued, and if we have attacked their home world, then finding the invasion fleet may be the least of our concerns. With those ominous words hanging in the air, Lysera and Emberclaw left the chamber. Behind them, the council members sat in worried silence. None of them spoke of their deepest fear. The fear that they had made a terrible mistake. The fear that some ancient power had awakened. The fear that the galaxy was about to change forever. Lysera walked through the crystal corridors of Ethermore with purpose. Her mind was already working through possibilities and scenarios. Somewhere in the vast darkness of space, 12,000 ships waited. Somewhere, answers lurked. And Lysera Moonwhisper would find them. She always did. But as she prepared her ship for the journey to Earth, she could not shake the feeling that this time would be different. This time, the mystery might be bigger than anything she had ever encountered. This time, the answer she found might change everything she believed about the galaxy and its history. Emberclaw felt it too. As the great dragon settled into the cargo bay of their Saru, hip, specially modified to accommodate his size, he stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Earth waited, and with it, a truth that had been hidden for 50,000 years. The journey would take 2 standard days through the dimensional gateways, 2 days to reach Earth's star system, 2 days until Lysara would begin to uncover a secret that would shake the foundations of the Galactic Coalition. She did not know it yet, but everything was about to change. The dimensional gateway collapsed behind them with a flash of purple light. Lysara stood on the bridge of her ship, the Star Whisper, and stared at the view before her. Emberclaw lay coiled in the observation dome above, his massive form pressed against the transparent crystal to get a better view. Earth's star hung before them, bright and yellow. It looked ordinary, just another middle-aged star among billions. Nothing special, nothing threatening. Yet somewhere in this system, 12,000 ships had vanished without a trace. Running scans now, Lysara said aloud. Her fingers moved across the control panel with practiced ease. Data began streaming across multiple displays. The third planet from the star. That should be Earth. The blue and green world appeared on her main screen. Even from this distance, it looked peaceful. Beautiful, even. White clouds drifted across vast oceans. The continents showed no signs of massive warfare or planetary destruction. Detecting multiple artificial satellites in orbit around Earth, her ship's computer announced in a calm voice. Counting 3,217 objects. Most appear to be primitive communication and observation devices. Lysara frowned. 3,000 satellites seemed like a lot for a Level 2 civilization, but perhaps humans were more industrious than the initial survey suggested. Any sign of our invasion fleet? Scanning, the computer replied. Several seconds passed, detecting massive energy signatures in high orbit around Earth, matching profiles with coalition military vessels. I am detecting 11,943 ships. Relief washed through Lysara. The fleet was there, not destroyed. Open a communication channel to the flagship. Channel open, the computer confirmed. This is Lysara Moonwhisper, Council Investigator, calling the flagship Domination. Respond immediately. She waited. Silence answered her. Flagship Domination, this is a priority council transmission. Respond. Still nothing. Through their bond, Lysara felt Emberclaw's concern growing. The dragon shifted above her, his ancient eyes focused on the distant planet. Take us closer, Lysara commanded. Full sensor sweep. I want to know everything about those ships. The Star Whisper moved forward, cutting through space with ease. As they approached Earth's orbit, the invasion fleet came into view. Lysara had seen many fleets in her long life, but this sight was deeply wrong. The 12,000 ships floated in perfect formation. Each vessel hung exactly where it should be, maintaining precise distances from its neighbors. Their hulls gleamed undamaged in the sunlight. No scorch marks from weapons fire, no signs of combat at all. But they were completely dark. No lights. No power signatures except for minimal emergency systems. They looked like toys arranged by some giant child, pretty but lifeless. This is impossible, Lysara whispered. She brought the Star Whisper alongside the flagship Domination. The massive warship dwarfed her small vessel. Its hull was pristine. Computer, any life signs aboard the Domination? Negative. No life signs detected on the flagship or any vessel in the fleet. Lysara felt cold dread settle into her bones. 12,000 ships.
Each one carrying 300 to 500 crew members.
Millions of soldiers, pilots, engineers, and officers. All gone. Where are they? She wondered aloud. Emberclaw rumbled above her. Something took them, the dragon said slowly. Something powerful enough to board every ship simultaneously without triggering alarms or distress signals. Lysara nodded grimly. I need to board the flagship. See what evidence remains. She suited up in her combat armor, a sleek design that enhanced her natural elven agility and magic. Energy shields hummed to life around her. Weapons checked and ready. If something dangerous lurked aboard those dead ships, she would be prepared. The Star Whisper extended a docking tube to the Domination's airlock. Lysara cycled through, her boots magnetic against the metal floor. Emergency lighting provided dim illumination. The air was cold but breathable. She walked through empty corridors. Her footsteps echoed too loudly in the silence. Every station was abandoned but showed no signs of struggle. Control panels remained active at minimal power. Coffee cups sat on desks, contents long since frozen. Personal items remained where their owners had left them. It was as if everyone had simply stood up and walked away mid-task. Lysara reached the bridge. The command center of the flagship was large and impressive. Dozens of stations surrounded a central command throne where the admiral would have sat during the invasion. The throne was empty, but something caught her eye. On the floor in neat, organized piles sat armor and weapons. Dozens of sets. Each pile contained one complete uniform, one set of body armor, one weapon, and one helmet. The items were arranged with almost respectful precision. "Emberclaw," Lysara called through their communication link. "I am finding the crew's equipment, but not the crew themselves." "The same pattern is on every ship I scan," the dragon replied. His consciousness touched hers through their bond, sharing what he saw. Every vessel in the fleet shows the same thing. Empty but undamaged, equipment left behind in neat arrangements. Lysara knelt beside one of the piles. She picked up a helmet and examined it. No damage, no blood, no sign of violence. The armor's internal systems were powered down normally, not crashed or forced offline. She moved to the main computer console and activated it. The system responded sluggishly but functioned. "Computer, show me the last 12 hours of security footage." Holographic displays flickered to life around her. She watched the invasion unfold in fast forward. The fleet entered Earth system. Human aircraft rose to meet them, firing primitive missiles that exploded harmlessly against energy shields. The fleet moved into orbital positions. Landing forces prepared their equipment. Then something happened that made Lysara's blood run cold. Figures appeared on the ships. Not gradually, not through the airlocks. They simply appeared, materializing out of nothing in corridors and rooms and command centers. They wore white armor that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Their movements were precise and coordinated. The coalition soldiers tried to fight. Energy weapons fired. Plasma rifles discharged. Combat drones activated. Nothing touched the white-armored figures. Weapons fire passed through them as if they were ghosts. Physical strikes met no resistance. Then the white-armored figures reached out and touched the coalition soldiers. And wherever they touched, soldiers simply stopped. Not dead, not unconscious, just stopped. Their armor gently removed itself and arranged itself in neat piles. The soldiers themselves faded from view as if they had never existed. Within 10 minutes, every ship in the fleet was empty. The footage ended. Lysara stood frozen, trying to process what she had seen. Technology that could teleport millions of individuals simultaneously onto 12,000 ships, spread across thousands of kilometers. Technology that could phase through matter. Technology that could make living beings vanish without harming them. This was not level 2 civilization technology. This was not even level 10. This was something far beyond anything in the Coalition's knowledge. A sound made her spin around, weapons ready. But it was not an attacker. It was her ship's computer broadcasting an incoming transmission. A holographic image formed in the center of the bridge. A human woman appeared wearing a dark blue uniform with silver insignia. She had auburn hair pulled back in a professional style. Her brown eyes were calm and intelligent. She looked young, perhaps 30 years old by human standards. "Greetings," the woman said in perfect galactic common. Her accent was flawless. "I am Commander Katie Brooks of Terra Defense Command. You are currently in restricted space. Please identify yourself and state your purpose." Lysara stared at the hologram. The woman spoke as if she had every right to challenge a coalition investigator. As if Earth had authority here. "I am Lysara Moonwhisper, Council Investigator for the Galactic Coalition. I am here to determine what happened to our invasion fleet." Katie Brooks smiled slightly. It was not a threatening expression, but it was not warm either. "Your invasion fleet is safe, Investigator Moonwhisper. All personnel are alive and well. They are currently undergoing a re-education process." "Re-education?" Lysara felt her anger rising. "You have taken millions of Coalition citizens prisoner. This is an act of war." "Invasion is the act of war," Katie replied calmly. "We simply defended ourselves. Your people are unharmed. They are learning about Earth, about humanity, about why conquest is not acceptable. When they understand, they will be free to return home." "This is a violation of galactic law," Lysara said through clenched teeth. "Galactic law," Katie said softly, "is written by conquerors to justify conquest. We do not recognize laws that permit the strong to prey upon the weak." Lysara was about to respond when she noticed something. In the background of Katie's transmission, she could see a window. Through it, she saw a massive structure, a space station of incredible size. "Ed, your defensive protocols." "Yes," Katie confirmed. "We could have destroyed your fleet instantly. We have weapons that could shatter every ship before they knew we were there. But we chose mercy. We chose to give your people a chance to learn, to understand, to grow beyond the cycle of conquest that has plagued the galaxy for so long." Lysera looked at Emberclaw. The dragon stared back at her with eyes that had seen epochs pass. "You knew," she said to her companion. "Your old songs, your memories. You remembered the Guardians." "I was young when they withdrew," Emberclaw rumbled. "Barely 2,000 years old. But yes, I remember. Dragons allied with humans in those days. We fought beside the Guardians. When they left, we mourned." Katie approached the dragon respectfully. "We remember dragons too. Ancient partners. Friends who shared our dream of peace. It honors us to have you here." Lysera felt her entire worldview crumbling. Everything she had believed about the galaxy and the Coalition's place in it was built on lies and incomplete information. The Coalition was not bringing order to chaos. It was perpetuating the same cycle of conquest that had plagued the galaxy for millennia. And Earth, primitive, defenseless Earth, was the sleeping giant that could end everything with a thought. "What happens now?" Lysera asked quietly. Katie's expression became serious. "That depends on you, Investigator Moonwhisper. You came here seeking answers. Now you have them. What you do with this knowledge will determine the future." Lysera stood in that ancient museum, surrounded by the proof of humanity's true nature, and knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The journey back to Ethermore felt longer than it should have. Lysera sat in silence aboard the Star Whisper, her mind replaying everything she had learned on New Geneva Station. Above her in the observation dome, Emberclaw was equally quiet. The dragon had not spoken since they left Earth's system. 3 days had passed since Katie Brooks revealed the truth about humanity. 3 days of reviewing evidence, examining ancient records, and trying to understand the full scope of what this meant for the galaxy. Katie had given Lysera complete access to Earth's historical archives. The proof was undeniable. Humanity was the guardian civilization, the protectors who had kept peace 50,000 years ago, the ones who withdrew after their terrible mistake, the ones who had been watching and waiting all this time, and the Galactic Coalition in its arrogance had tried to conquer them. "What will you tell the Council?" Emberclaw finally asked as they approached the dimensional gateway. Lysera stared at the swirling portal ahead. "The truth. What else can I tell them? The truth may start a war," the dragon rumbled. "Some on the Council will see humanity's power as a threat. They will want to strike before Earth can act. They would lose," Lysera said quietly. "Badly. Earth could eliminate the entire Coalition fleet without effort. Katie showed me recordings of their weapons tests. She wanted me to understand exactly what we faced. She closed her eyes, remembering. Weapons that could stop time in localized areas. Shields that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Ships that could be in 1,000 places at once. Technology so far beyond Coalition capabilities that comparing them was meaningless. Katie told me they have been protecting dozens of worlds from Coalition expansion," Lysera continued. "Every invasion fleet that mysteriously disappeared over the last few centuries. Every colony ship that never reached its destination. Every unexplained phenomenon that halted our conquests. That was Earth. They have been stopping us without us even knowing." The Star Whisper emerged from the gateway. The crystal spires of Ethermore appeared ahead, gleaming in the light of 3 suns. Home. Or at least what used to feel like home. Now Lysera saw it differently. She saw a capital built on conquest. A civilization that justified oppression as order. "The Council is waiting," her ship's computer announced. "They have cleared your approach for immediate landing." Lysera took a deep breath. "Very well. Let us see how they react to the truth." The Council chamber was full when she arrived. All 7 representatives sat in their floating thrones. But they were not alone. Behind each throne stood military advisors, intelligence officers, and legal experts. The gallery above was packed with observers from across the Coalition. Word had spread that Investigator Moonwhisper had returned from Earth with answers about the missing invasion fleet. High Chancellor Vexus spoke first. "Investigator Moonwhisper, you have returned. What did you discover? Where is our fleet? Where are our people?" Lysera walked to the center of the chamber. Emberclaw settled beside her, his massive form drawing nervous glances from the assembled crowd. She had prepared her report during the journey, every word chosen carefully, every fact documented and verified. The 47th Invasion Fleet is intact and undamaged, she began. Her voice carried clearly through the vast space. All vessels remain in orbit around Earth. However, all personnel have been removed from the ships and are currently being held on Earth. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Counselor Jarn leaned forward, his forearms gripping the armrests of his throne. Held, you mean imprisoned? By a Level 2 civilization? Earth is not a Level 2 civilization, Lysara stated flatly. They never were. Our intelligence was completely wrong. She activated her datapad. Holographic displays filled the chamber, showing New Geneva Station in all its impossible glory, showing the biodomes where Coalition soldiers lived in comfort, showing the technology that should not exist. What you are seeing is one of Earth's defensive installations, Lysara explained. They call it New Geneva Station. It is 300 kilometers across and houses over 10 million beings from hundreds of species. The technology used to construct and maintain it is centuries beyond anything we possess. Counselor Thera's crystalline form pulsed with agitation. Impossible. Our surveys were thorough. Earth had no such capabilities 50 years ago. They did, Lysara corrected. They simply hid them from us, just as they have been hiding their true nature for 50,000 years. The chamber erupted in shouting. Questions flew from all directions. Demands for explanations. Accusations of incompetence. High Chancellor Vexis raised his hand and silence gradually returned. Explain yourself, investigator, Vexis commanded. 50,000 years? What are you talking about? Lysara met his eyes steadily. Humanity is the guardian civilization from the ancient legends. They are not a young species. They are one of the oldest spacefaring races in the galaxy. They possessed faster-than-light travel when most of our civilizations were still developing agriculture. She let that sink in for a moment before continuing. For 5,000 years, humanity and their allies maintained peace in the galaxy. They stopped wars, protected young civilizations, prevented genocides. The Coalition's oldest records contain fragmentary references to them, though most have dismissed these as myths. Megan Torres had given Lysara permission to share some of Earth's historical records. Lysara now displayed them for the Council. Ancient star maps showing human territory spanning thousands of systems. Records of Guardian interventions across the galaxy. Testimonies from dozens of civilizations that had been saved by human protection. What happened to them? Counselor Mora demanded. Flames danced around her form, reflecting her agitation. If they were so powerful, why did they disappear? They made a mistake, Lysara said quietly. A terrible one. In trying to stop an aggressive species, they used a weapon that was too powerful. An entire civilization was wiped out. Billions of lives ended in an instant. Humanity was horrified by what they had done. So they withdrew from galactic affairs. They isolated Earth and vowed never to use their power for destruction again. Until we invaded them, Jarn said slowly. Understanding dawned in his eyes, followed quickly by fear. Yes, Lysara confirmed. Our invasion triggered their defensive protocols. But even then they chose mercy over destruction. They could have annihilated our entire fleet before it entered their system. Instead, they removed our personnel without harming them. They are currently educating them about peaceful coexistence. When each individual understands why conquest is wrong, they will be free to return home. This is outrageous, Jarn bellowed, rising from his throne. They have no right to kidnap our soldiers and brainwash them with their propaganda. They have every right to defend themselves, Emberclaw spoke. His deep voice silenced the chamber instantly. Dragons rarely spoke in council sessions, and when they did, everyone listened. 50,000 years ago, my ancestors fought alongside the Guardians. I was young, but I remember. I remember humans who valued life above conquest. Humans who wept when forced to use violence. Humans who chose mercy even for their enemies. The dragon's ancient eyes swept across the assembled council members. We dragons withdrew when humanity did. We saw what they saw. The endless cycle of empire and conquest. We grew tired of watching civilizations destroy each other, but unlike humanity, we simply hid. We did not work to stop the violence. Perhaps we should have. Lysara felt pride in her bonded companion. Emberclaw had wrestled with his own conscience during their journey home. Now he had made his choice. What do they want? Vexis asked. The High Chancellor looked older than Lysara had ever seen him. Humanity must want something. Reparations? Territory? Submission? They want the coalition to change, Lysara said. To stop conquering. To become what it pretends to be. A true union of equals, not an empire that forces compliance through military might. They expect us to simply abandon our expansion? Thera asked incredulously. To give up systems we have rightfully claimed? Rightfully? Lysara found herself saying. The word tasted bitter. What right does strength give to rule the weak? What right do we have to take worlds simply because we can? The gallery above erupted in shocked murmurs. An investigator questioning coalition doctrine was nearly unthinkable. But Lysara had seen too much. She could not unsee what Earth had shown her. Before anyone could respond, the air in the center of the chamber shimmered. Energy gathered and twisted. And then, impossible as it seemed, a figure appeared. A holographic projection, but one that had bypassed every security system in the most heavily defended facility in Coalition space. Katie Brooks stood before the Council of Seven Realms. She wore her dark blue uniform with calm dignity. Behind her, Amy Chen, Megan Torres, and Lauren Hayes appeared as well. The four human women looked at the assembled rulers of the galaxy without fear or aggression, only quiet determination. Greetings, honored council members, Katie said in perfect galactic common. I am Commander Katie Brooks of Earth. I apologize for the intrusion, but this conversation concerns my world, so I felt my presence was appropriate. How did you get through our defenses? Vexus demanded. This facility is supposed to be impenetrable. Your defenses are adequate for current coalition technology, Amy Chen replied. Unfortunately, we stopped using such systems about 40,000 years ago. Katie stepped forward. Her holographic form moved with perfect fluidity. Investigator Moonwhisper has reported her findings accurately. Everything she told you is true. Humanity is the guardian civilization from your ancient records. We withdrew 50,000 years ago after making a terrible mistake. We have been watching the galaxy ever since. You had no right to interfere with our invasion, Jarn shouted. Earth was designated for colonization under coalition law. Coalition law, Katie said softly, was written by conquerors to justify conquest. We do not recognize any law that permits the strong to prey upon the weak. She looked at each council member in turn. Her brown eyes were calm but carried the weight of millennia. For the past 500 years, we have been quietly protecting worlds from coalition expansion. Every invasion that mysteriously failed, every colony ship that vanished, every unexplained setback in your conquests, that was us. The chamber had gone completely silent. Even the observers in the gallery seemed frozen. We did not want to reveal ourselves, Katie continued. We hoped the coalition would eventually grow beyond its need to conquer. But you did not. You continued to expand, to subjugate, to justify oppression as order. And finally, you made the mistake of targeting Earth itself. Lauren Hayes stepped forward. We return your invasion force to you, Council. All personnel are alive and well. Many have chosen to remain with us, having found purpose in building rather than destroying. Those who wish to return home will be allowed to do so. But they will carry the truth with them. What truth? Mora demanded. That there is another way, Megan Torres answered. That strength does not require conquest. That civilization can exist without empire. That peace is possible if we choose it. Katie's expression became serious, almost sad. You invaded Earth. You sent 12,000 ships to conquer our world, to take our resources, to subjugate our people. Did you really think that was wise? The words hung in the air. The council could only gape in shock. The reality of their situation was finally sinking in. They had attacked a civilization that could destroy them with ease. A civilization that had shown mercy when it could have shown annihilation. What happens now? Vexus asked quietly. All his bluster was gone. He spoke with the voice of someone who had glimpsed the abyss. That is up to you, Katie replied. Earth offers the coalition a choice. Reform yourselves. Become a true democratic union of equals. Free the worlds you have conquered. Allow species to join or leave as they choose. Work toward genuine cooperation instead of forced compliance. And if we refuse? Jarn asked, though his voice lacked conviction. Amy Chen answered. Then Earth will intervene. We will not permit the cycle of conquest to continue. We have the power to end the coalition as a political entity. We would prefer not to use that power, but we will if necessary. This is tyranny, Thera protested weakly. You claim to oppose empire while forcing your will upon us. We are not forcing anything, Katie said gently. We are simply refusing to allow you to force others. You may govern yourselves however you wish, but you may not govern others without their genuine consent. That is not tyranny. That is justice. She looked at Lysera. Investigator Moonwhisper risked much by returning here to tell you the truth. She could have kept silent, could have filed a report claiming the fleet was destroyed by unknown forces, but she chose honesty. I hope you will honor her courage by considering our offer seriously. Katie turned her attention back to the council. You have 1 standard year to begin reforms. Demonstrate genuine progress toward becoming a voluntary union, free at least 10 conquered worlds. Establish democratic processes for all member species. Show us that change is possible. And if we do, Fexus asked, then Earth will help you, Katie said with a genuine smile. We have technology that could benefit all species. Medical advances that could extend lifespans. Clean energy that could power your worlds without depleting resources. Knowledge gathered over millennia. All of this we would gladly share with a reformed coalition. But if we do not reform, more oppressed. Katie's expression became sad. Then we will do what we failed to do 50,000 years ago. We will actively intervene to prevent conquest and oppression throughout the galaxy, not through destruction but through protection. Every world you try to invade, we will defend. Every species you try to subjugate, we will shelter. Your expansion will end, not because we destroyed you, but because we will not permit you to destroy others. The holographic projection began to fade. 1 year, honored council. Choose wisely. The galaxy is watching. And with that, Katie Brooks and her companions vanished. The energy in the chamber dissipated. The council members sat in stunned silence, trying to process what had just occurred. Lysera looked at Emberclaw. The dragon looked back at her. Through their bond, she felt his resolve matching her own. I resign from my position as council investigator, Lysera announced. Her voice rang clear in the silent chamber. I can no longer serve an empire built on conquest. If Earth truly intends to help reform the galaxy, then I wish to help them. Emberclaw rose to his full height. As do I. The time of hiding is over. It is time for dragons to remember what we once were. Guardians, protectors, friends of all who seek peace. They turned and walked toward the chamber exit. Behind them, the council erupted into chaos. Arguments broke out. Accusations flew. Some called for immediate military action against Earth. Others urged caution. Still others sat in silence, contemplating the impossible choice before them. But Lysera and Emberclaw did not look back. They had made their decision. The galaxy was about to change one way or another, and they intended to be part of that change. Above Ethermoor, the stars shone as they always had. But everything was different now. The age of unopposed conquest was ending. A new age was beginning. 6 months had passed since that fateful day in the council chamber. 6 months since Katie Brooks appeared before the rulers of the galaxy and offered them a choice between reform and intervention. 6 months since Lysera Moonwhisper walked away from 3,000 years of service to the Galactic Coalition. Everything had changed. Lysera stood in the observation deck of the Restoration Corps headquarters, watching ships come and go from the massive orbital facility. The station was built in the same style as New Geneva, blending organic beauty with crystalline precision. But this one was different. This one was jointly constructed by humans and dozens of other species working together in true cooperation. She wore a new uniform now, deep blue like the humans wore, but with silver accents that reflected her elven heritage. On her shoulder sat the emblem of the Restoration Corps, a circle of stars surrounding an open hand. It represented what they stood for: unity, protection, help freely given, not forced upon others. Still getting used to it? Lysera turned to see Katie Brooks approaching. The human commander had become more than just a colleague over these past months. She had become a friend, something Lysera had not expected when this all began. The uniform fits better than my old one ever did, Lysera replied with a slight smile, though I still find myself checking for my council investigator badge from time to time. Katie laughed softly. Change takes time, even when we choose it willingly. She joined Lysera at the window. Together they watched a group of ships preparing for departure. Those vessels are heading to Carvos Prime. The population voted yesterday to leave the coalition and join the voluntary alliance that makes 17 worlds that have chosen independence. In the past 6 months, Lysera noted, she felt a mixture of pride and sadness. Pride that species were finally free to choose, sadness for all the years they spent under forced rule. The Council is actually cooperating, Katie said, slowly and with much complaining, but they are honoring their agreement. No military intervention against worlds that choose to leave. Democratic process is being established. It is more progress than I expected in such a short time. Fear is a powerful motivator, Lysara observed. They know what Earth is capable of now. They know that if they break their word, humanity will intervene. True, Katie admitted, but I hope that eventually they will reform because they believe it is right, not just because they fear consequences. Real change comes from within. A shadow passed overhead. Both women looked up to see two figures soaring through the open space above the observation deck. Amberclaw flew with powerful grace, his crimson scales gleaming in the artificial sunlight. Beside him flew a human woman in white armor. Her name was Nicole Grant, a former Marine who had volunteered to become the first human to bond with a dragon in 50,000 years. The sight still amazed Lysara. When Amberclaw first suggested bonding with a human, she had worried. Dragon bonds were sacred and permanent, but the ancient dragon had been certain. He said Nicole reminded him of humans from the old days, brave, compassionate, and dedicated to protecting others. The bonding ceremony had taken place 1 month ago. It involved ancient rituals that even most dragons had forgotten. But Amberclaw remembered, and now he and Nicole flew together as partners, just as dragons and humans had done in the time of the Guardians. They make a good team, Katie observed, watching the pair perform aerial maneuvers that would be impossible for either species alone. They do, Lysara agreed. Nicole has adapted to the bond remarkably well. Amberclaw says she has the heart of a true guardian. High praise from a dragon who has lived through the ages, Katie said with a smile. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Lysara spoke the question that had been on her mind. The invasion force personnel who chose to return to the coalition. How many stayed with Earth instead? About 40%, Katie replied. Nearly 5 million individuals decided they would rather help build than return to military service. They are working on various projects now, some in terraforming, others in education, many in the Restoration Corps itself. I have met several of them, Lysara said. They speak highly of their time on Earth. They say it changed how they see the galaxy. That was always our hope, Katie said softly. Not to brainwash or force compliance, but to simply show another way. To let them see that strength does not require conquest. That peace is possible, a chime sounded. Katie checked her communication device. The transport from Sector 7 has arrived. The representatives from the Zelvan Confederacy are here for the integration talks. More species joining the voluntary alliance, Lysara noted with satisfaction. At this rate, the new alliance will rival the old coalition within a few years. And it will be stronger, Katie said with conviction, because every member chooses to be part of it. No one is forced. No one is subjugated. That is real unity. They left the observation deck together and headed toward the conference halls. The headquarters was bustling with activity. Beings from hundreds of species worked side by side. Humans collaborated with elves on medical research. Kravix shared engineering knowledge with crystal mines. Dragons, trained with various species in peacekeeping protocols. This was what the galaxy could be when conquest was replaced with cooperation. Over the next several hours, Lysara participated in meetings with the Zelvan representatives. They were a peaceful aquatic species whose world had been threatened by coalition expansion. Now they sought protection and partnership with the voluntary alliance. The negotiations went smoothly. Unlike the old coalition system, there were no demands for resources or military service. Only mutual agreements for trade, defense cooperation, and cultural exchange. By the time the meetings concluded, the station had rotated into its evening cycle. Soft lighting mimicked sunset. Temperature dropped slightly to comfortable coolness. Many species found these natural cycles comforting after living on sterile military stations. Katie found Lysara again as she was leaving the conference hall. Want to see something special? We are testing new planetary restoration technology on Earth tomorrow, but there is a preview tonight if you would like to attend. I would be honored, Lysara replied. She found herself genuinely excited. Earth technology continued to amaze her, even after 6 months of exposure to it. They took a transport shuttle down to Earth itself. This would be Lysara's 5th visit to the human homeworld. but each time she found something new to appreciate. The planet was beautiful beyond description. Vast oceans teemed with life. Forests stretched across continents, mountains touched clouds, and everywhere life flourished in incredible diversity. They landed at a facility near what humans called the Pacific Ocean. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple that reminded Lysera of the sunsets on her own homeworld. But there was something different about Earth sunsets, something that spoke of age and patience and hope preserved through long millennia. Megan Torres met them at the landing pad. The science advisor wore casual clothing instead of her usual uniform. "Welcome, both of you. The demonstration will begin shortly. We are quite excited about this development." She led them to an observation platform overlooking a barren stretch of land. The area had been deliberately stripped of vegetation for the test. Massive machines sat at intervals around the perimeter. They hummed with barely contained energy. "What you are about to see," Megan explained, "is our rapid terraforming technology. It can restore damaged ecosystems or create new habitable environments in a fraction of the time natural processes would require. We plan to use this to help repair worlds damaged by war or exploitation." Amy Chen joined them on the platform. "We have been reluctant to share this technology before now. In the wrong hands, it could be weaponized. But the Restoration Corps has proven itself trustworthy. We believe it is time to start helping repair the damage the Coalition has caused over the centuries." Lauren Hayes, the diplomatic liaison, arrived last. She carried a bottle of wine and several glasses. "This seems like a moment worth celebrating," she said with a warm smile. "The beginning of real healing." As the sun touched the horizon, the machines activated. Energy pulsed across the barren land in waves of soft green light. Where the light touched, soil began to shift and change. Within minutes, grass sprouted. Then shrubs. Then saplings that grew with impossible speed. Within an hour, what had been dead earth was transformed into a thriving young forest. "Incredible," Lysera breathed. She had seen many wonders in her long life, but this was something special. This was not destruction or conquest. This was creation, healing, hope made manifest. "Imagine what we could do with this across the galaxy," Katie said quietly. "Worlds scarred by mining operations restored. Ecosystems damaged by pollution healed. Deserts turned into forests. All the harm that has been done slowly undone." Lauren poured wine for everyone. They raised their glasses as the machines completed their work. Below them, birds that had been released earlier were already settling into the new forest. Life recognizing life and claiming it as home. "To new beginnings," Lauren said. "To healing old wounds," Megan added. "To peace built on justice," Amy contributed. "To the galaxy we are building together," Katie finished. They drank and Lysera felt tears on her cheeks. Happy tears. For 3,000 years, she had served an empire built on conquest. She had investigated crimes but never questioned the greatest crime of all, the subjugation of free peoples. Now she had a chance to help make things right. As night fell and stars appeared above, Emberclaw and Nicole landed nearby. The dragon and his human partner joined the group on the observation platform. They all stood together in comfortable silence, watching the new forest sway in the gentle evening breeze. "Katie," Lysera said after a while, "may I ask you something personal?" "Of course," Katie replied. "You told me that humanity withdrew 50,000 years ago because of a terrible mistake, that you erased an entire species trying to stop their aggression. But why really? What made you isolate Earth for so long? There must be more to the story." Katie was quiet for a long moment. She stared out at the forest they had just created. Finally, she spoke. "The Varani were not the only reason we withdrew. They were the final catalyst, yes. But the truth is more complicated." She turned to face Lysera directly. "We withdrew because we realized we had become what we fought against. We started as guardians protecting the weak. But over time we began making decisions for other species, deciding who deserved protection and who deserved punishment, imposing our values even when they were not wanted. We had become benevolent tyrants, but tyrants nonetheless." The other humans nodded. They had clearly discussed this among themselves before. "The destruction of the Varani forced us to confront what we had become," Katie continued. "We withdrew not just as punishment, but as a necessary correction. We needed to learn humility, to understand that strength does not grant wisdom, that power must be tempered by restraint and respect for others' autonomy. For 50,000 years," Megan added, "we watched, we learned, We saw the same patterns repeat across the galaxy. Empires rising and falling, conquest justified as civilization. We wanted to enter